She felt trapped.
My supervisors worked together to take advantage of my vulnerabilities and my mental health. And they used it for their gain.
Boys, let's run a train. Call the boys, let's run a train.
Welcome to the Dark Times channel. So everybody remembers the case in Tennessee where a white female cop by the name of Megan Hall was fired for sleeping with 7 different officers. And some of the officers were also let go as well. And so former Tennessee officer Megan Hall decided to pull the Okie Doke on everybody. And she filed a lawsuit against the police department in Tennessee. And she's now claiming that she was groomed by her fellow officers and some of her supervisors. And as messed up as this situation is, I don't feel sorry for the black cops in the least. I don't feel sorry for anybody involved. That he said, she said thing is a real thing, especially when you get in front of that DA and you get in front of the judge. There's no such thing as consensual sex. And what's crazy to me about this story is I know a very similar situation that happened to my boys back in high school. Some of my boys back in high school took a trip across the railroad tracks to mess around with this white girl back in the day. And I'm not going to get too graphic on here, but it was a 3-on-1 type of situation, and y'all know what I mean. And their parents had to get lawyers and the whole 9. And it was their senior year, and one of them played ball with me, and we were really close. So, you know, his whole senior year was just jacked up. It's like playing Russian roulette. At any time, they can file charges, and that's exactly the way they want it. And so in the suit that former officer Megan Hall filed, the suit claims she felt trapped, and in an attempt to escape, she nearly offed herself. And so that's very interesting to me. You know, here you have a police officer who's been sworn to protect and serve the community. And here she is having suicidal thoughts after getting her back blown out pretty much by everybody on the force. And so this goes to show you, they really don't do any real psych evaluations when it comes to hiring some of these officers. And so the suit also claims that fellow officer / supervisor Powell learned Hall was going through some marital problems and positioned himself as a reliable source for companionship. He then propositioned her for sexual favors, and she resisted at first and then eventually gave in. And so right off the bat, that's a red flag for me. Any woman or man won't necessarily talk about their marital or relationship issues with somebody from the opposite sex unless they want something to pop off. The only time you're really going to bring something up, especially as it pertains to your personal relationships or romantic relationships, you're going to leave yourself vulnerable and things like that, is if you want something to pop off. And so, like I said, a woman isn't going to cry on another man's shoulders unless she's open for business. And so the lawsuit continues and says that Officer Hall kept bobbing up and down for apples on Officer Powell and then wanted it to stop. But he said he would off himself if she did.
Man, back in the day, your wife just sucked the meanest. Well, I know you're a lucky man. You scum sucker.
And so, yeah, I highly doubt Officer Powell said that. But let's just say he did. Officer Powell did all that. He said he would off himself, if she didn't keep continuing to do what she did. That's not assault. That's not any kind of coercion or grooming. That's just game. Weak game as it may be, but nevertheless, like I said, it's just game. And we all know what time it is with that. And so not only was Powell fired, but the black police chief was also fired for allegedly having her dance for him and tried to get her to go on lunch dates with him, allegedly. And so that's something I could actually see. Just looking at the police chief, he's definitely got his ear to the ground and he knows what's up. He knows what's being said about his officers, and he knows what's going on in his department. And let's be clear, dudes talk more than females do when it comes to this kind of stuff. So word is definitely going to get around. She works in a predominantly male field, so word is going to get out. And so the only reason why I got on in the first place, because one of the black cops actually snitched like a bitch because he was jealous. You know, he probably got moved to the back of the rotation or something like that. But, you know, other than that, she would still be gargling balls in squad cars. And no one would be the wiser had it not been for that dude who snitched. And so, of course, the chief heard about it. You know, he heard about that firehead and he was probably trying to bust one or two. But rule number one, you don't ever pursue a woman like this. Let me talk to my guys for a second. We've all known girls and women like this in our past that was just giving it out like government cheese, basically. You know, if that's something you want to deal with, you let that come to you. That's not something you really pursue. And so this is definitely an unfortunate situation, mainly for the families involved. And so let me know what y'all think in the comment sections about this one. And make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as usual, peace and chaos.